Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm very, very happy to be here too. We're exploring creative energy levels as they pertain to the ancient system of the chakras, climbing up through the body from the base of the spine to the top of the head. And we're going to go a little bit beyond that too, to get a feeling for these times and how we can bring our focus back to a sense of congruence, a feeling of being a whole me, not scattered, not static, not attempting to confine ourselves to the status quo. So today is our third video, and we are climbing from the 0 point, which is the all that is, the Godhead, the infinite creative intelligence, the creative principle, the divinity, we might say, that holds all of this magnificence of being in the world and part of the universe, holds it all together. So the 0 is where we began, and all the links are in the emails, and I will begin to put them into the YouTube description box also, so that you can pick up and also kind of circle back whenever you choose to be reminding yourself that we come here ready to be here. And then we forget as culture and our experiences sort of weigh us down. Today, we're looking at the second level of creative energy. We're going to begin with a little poem. It is attributed to Tree of Life Inspirations. And it's a little beautiful card that I was given many, many years ago by one of our community members. And it goes like this. Again, visualization is such a powerful part of our investigation here. And I like to remind us that I don't know any more than you know, other than the fact that I have been really, really, being an existential detective about creative energy since I was basically 20 years old. And I'm very, very happy to be sharing with you some of the things that I've discovered. All of this is in short form because of the video format and our attention spans. So I like to keep it short and succinct as I possibly can for you. The poem that we're working with today that starts our introduction for today is, again, Tree of Life Inspiration. It says on the back of the card, in a changing world, those who are able to cultivate inner peace, focus, and happiness can keep on course with their own visions and dreams and are a light of positive influence in the world. So I know I'm in good company here. And again, nobody knows any more than anybody else. We're all explorers. So the poem on the front of the card says, like a tree, find your own space to grow. Bend with the winds of change. Bless the uniqueness of who you are. Connect with the roots of your own wisdom. Do what you love to do. Be the best you can be. Share your beauty with the world. And I love that as an introduction to our second level of the creative energy ladder that we're climbing, because this is the place, the second zone of creative energy. This is the place where we impregnate ourselves with good ideas, with beauty and bounty, with the capacity to recognize that we are here to midwife our vision, our calling, our fondest dream into the world through our gifts, through our talents, through, again, our own explorations of growth, development, and evolution. It ain't easy. The third dimensional plane has a tremendous force of gravity that pushes things down to keep them in place. As we spoke about in the first creative level of energy, it behooves us to find our roots. So the tree analogy is also a really, really good one throughout our climb up the ladder of the creative levels of energy. The second level gives us a connection to so much. It's such a it's a limitless space that is held within our own physical body in a way that lets us be so expansive that we can go places as individuals. We can go places that no one has ever been before. We can be time travelers. We can be inner explorers. I hope I remember to add in a video clip from Carl Sagan. Do you remember him? Carl Sagan, a scientist who did some really fabulous work in the world. And I found a YouTube video many, many years ago that I like to listen to maybe once or twice a year. When I do find it myself looping back to this Carl Sagan video, it's done by a group that have taken all these clips of his work on television and made it into a sort of a hip hop rap a song that is, I find, tremendously timely. So I will do my very best to remember to put that link into the YouTube description. Before you can bake an apple pie, you must first create the universe, is basically the message of what Carl Sagan is teaching us. And the second level of energy gives us that awareness that before we can do anything, we have to recognize that we are a piece, a part, a parcel, a cell. I like to say, let's be a healthy cell in the body of the universe. And it's not a bad image in our time today, because we can see the contrast of the ups and the downs and the rights and the wrongs and the ins and the outs with more clarity than perhaps we've ever been able to see it because of the availability of information that comes our way. So when we get to the second level of creative energy, we're looking at our self-worth. How do I value myself? And we look at our sexual energy. What am I giving birth to? What am I bringing into the world? What am I midwifing in terms of my passion and my desire to give birth to the beauty and the wonder and the goodness that I sense, that I see, that I discover? Years and years ago in my art study, I kept notes every afternoon at my lunch break. I had a notebook. I called it Having Lunch with the Masters. I would have an art book in front of me, and I would write out quotes from different master artists over time. And one of the things that I came across during my explorations at that point was I think he was a scientist, artist, photographer type. And he was writing an essay about how he spent his summer. And he said, I traveled halfway around the world and I got halfway across my backyard. So the idea of birthing our passion, our vision, our calling into the world is a very intimate experience. And it doesn't have a lot to do with what's going on out there. It has everything to do with what's going on in here, on this ladder that we're climbing from the base of the spine up to the top of the head. And then like a fountain, we're going to move out of the body for just a bit also. Those are the videos that are coming up. This second level of energy is our capacity to recognize that our sexual energy and our creative energy are partners. That when we are drawn to partner with another, that's a very creative journey. And when we have partnered with others to a certain degree in our lives, we begin to discover that oh, this is lovely, this is wonderful, or this is awful, this doesn't work for me, wherever we're at on that spectrum. And then eventually we realize, I got to just stop all this outward focus and bring myself back home again and really find out, what is my story? What's going on with me? And it can take us into the depths of the darkness so that we are no longer afraid of the dark. When I turn the camera in a moment and we go back into the demo mode, we're going to be reminding ourselves that we're below the belt on our stick figure. We're not above the waistline yet. And the areas below the belt, the first level, the second level, and the third level, they often drive us into connection and relationship with what scares us. It's a scary experience when we scare ourselves. And part of what we want to be aware of is that the demons are there so that we are no longer afraid of them. So the second level is self-worth. What do I invest in? How am I spending my time, as opposed to how am I investing in myself? Really nice place to play right there, to just spend some time with your journal. How often do we think, I don't have? When if we take a moment and pause and just attempt to go deeper into this first and second level, we realize that indeed, at this moment in time, right here, being here, we do have exactly what we need. Even if we are unhomed at the moment in the world, we still carry all of the energies that supply us within our physical portable unit, as I call it. So let's take a moment and I'll shift our attention to the demo camera, and we will begin to climb the ladder into the second level of energy. So we have our little stick figure. I'll be expanding mine in the next couple days so that I can fit everything in as we continue to climb. But I'm using the continuation of yesterday's drawing so that, it's just here. We want to put in our second disc, and it sits right up against the first, and it's orange in color. The focus is on our self-worth. And the glandular focus is on our sexual glands. And we can do any additional research we want to, but I want to share with you what Jacqueline Small says about the second level of energy. Oh, her book is, I believe her book is out of print, but such a gold mine. You can see mine is old and all broken apart, but I don't mind that at all. The second chakra, which we call the second creative level of energy, is the sexual or sacral center. And she says that our human issues with this energy field are passion and belongingness needs, issues pertaining to sexuality, childbirth, and the creative urge. The glands are the sex glands, and the color is orange. So that's the energy information that she gives us in short form. She has a whole chapter on each of the levels. And if we turn to her page 83, she talks about level 2 is our emotional, relational nature. So when we're looking at the second level of energy, we're looking at a lot of things. And if you stay with me as we're climbing and we get up here to the top of the throat area, we're going to see some really excellent connections that get made between the second level and the fifth level. The second level is how we relate to ourselves emotionally. That's where we get our self-worth. If I'm ragging on myself all day and telling myself that I'm just not whatever I'm not, then it brings my energy down and it keeps me on the lower end of the creative energy fields. Let me get this set up too. So we're in the second level of energy. And again, we're thinking of each level as a battery with a positive and a negative charge. The positive is the light zone. The negative is the dark zone. So we can also see these energy levels as we go into the second level. We can now add in that the positive charge is the yang, masculine, light, light energy, like the sun, the solar, and the negative charge of each level's battery is the yin, dark, feminine energy. Now, again, there's no judgment. We want to keep in our consciousness that we need both charge, masculine, feminine, positive, negative, yang, yin. And we are currently in the yin portion of the year in the winter time and on the northern hemisphere. And we want to keep in mind that the negative keywords that we're going to add in for today simply allow us to mine the gold of what lies behind, beneath, and even above the energies that seem to be detrimental to us. So when we're in alignment with the second level of energy, we are receptive to the sacred. We want to call in to our emotional body, our second chakra zone. We want to call into our emotional body the beauty and the wonder of being able to love ourselves and see the worth of our own true nature. So some of the keywords that we can write down are loving, good companion, creative ideas, intuition, diplomatic. Those are the positive keywords in the short form chart that I've got here. As mentioned, over the years, many, many, many more keywords have been added, but we're keeping this as simple as we can as we unfold this series. Our affirmation for our second chakra, second level of the creative energy, is all things come to those who wait. And again, the first keyword in the positive charge is patience. I have a good friend who is a riot, who should be on the stage and doing stand-up, but she always says patience is a waste of time. And that's the antithesis of what we really want to be bringing to the second level of energy. We want to know that it takes us a very, very long time to actually give birth to our true nature, simply because the third dimensional plane, being alive on the earth, puts us into different states, hallucinogenic states, hypnotic states, mesmeric states, states where we're altered in our consciousness in a way that does not serve us. So we want to be very aware as we're going through our series and not hurt ourselves by thinking we should be someplace other than where we are. I heard a podcast while I was driving a couple of weeks ago, and it was two men speaking. It was a very interesting topic to me, but I don't recall even what the topic was, because they began to talk about how each of them was in their mid-50s, and they were agreeing that there are three crossroads in life, three places where we really have to look at the direction that we're moving and alter the way that we're moving through the world. They said the first crossroad is early 20s, when we come out of college and we're trying to figure out what next, what now. The second crossroad is when we get to our traditionally identified as our midlife crisis in our mid to late 30s. And then they said, they had the audacity to say, because they don't know any better, because it takes us a long time to integrate and to become congruent. They said the third crossroad is right where they were in their mid 50s. And they said, these are the three major points in life where we have to choose our direction. And I beg to differ with them. As my mentor, Alice, told me at the campfire in her backyard in New Mexico in her 80s, when she was in her 80s, she sat and told me a story that would have curled my hair had I had enough hair to curl at that time. She told us Beatty and I, a very, very traumatic story. And she described how, as we're traveling on the spiritual path, which is basically where the creative path leads, right? Leads us deep, deep, deep into our own interior, where we meet our spirit and our spiritual guides. But she reminded me then, and I've never forgotten, that it doesn't necessarily get easier, but we can travel with more ease because we have that awareness, we recognize it. And that all does come out of this second level of energy, where our emotional relationship with ourself begins, and where our emotional relationship with others teaches us to constantly come back and take responsibility for our own emotional baggage. A Course in Miracles has a wonderful passage that says, I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the I'm forgetting. I don't usually forget. I decide upon the path I would choose to travel. I'll just say that, just to paraphrase it. And everything that seems to happen to me, it ends with, I ask for and receive as I have asked. So this is where, as I mentioned a moment ago, the second level and the fifth level have a very strong relationship with one another. And we're going to learn that as we continue to climb up the ladder. When we get to the negative charge of the second level of energy, we have some keywords, and the keywords are yours to write into your workbook journal. And then when you want to, you can look them up. You can look them up in a thesaurus, a dictionary. You can ask your inner guidance, what does this word mean for me? And is it actually a negative word, or is it a word that I can reframe, that I can chunk down or chunk up and learn more about what this word actually represents in relationship to my own emotional journey with myself, which comes out of the second level of the creative energy levels that we're exploring. So here are the keywords: timid, emotionally insecure, tactless, insincere, and moody. So those would be our negative charge. And as we mentioned, this is the dark energy zone. This is the light energy zone. The light energy zone is related to the masculine energy. Why? Because it's solar, it's of the daytime. It takes us out into the active action, proactive aspects of each of the levels as we're discovering our own relationship with each of the levels. Nobody can tell us how to relate to our roots. Nobody knows how I am grounded and rooted and centered into the depths of my experience. That's my experience. If I tell you my story, it's just telling you my story. But if I experience and express my story in a way that touches and moves and inspires you, that takes it to a whole nother level. Muriel Rukeyser, who I believe is actually a scientist, said the world is made of stories, not atoms. And again, that's just a wonderful creative way to consider what we're up to here, is that we're looking at our own journey each of us is on our own journey. We're each a portable unit in the body of the universe. Again, thinking like I'm a cell in the body of the universe. And this is a navigational tool to give me a check and balance for how am I moving through the world? And am I being relational, first of all, to myself, through my self-worth, through my capacity to invest in my own development and my own unfolding. Like a tree, I plant a seed and I grow. And it's extraordinary to consider how an oak forest can come from simply one acorn, a nice place to go and add to our beginning exploration is to look up a YouTube video of the man who planted trees, the animated version of the man who planted trees. It is a very, very beautiful story. And it just shares with us how things can look devastating and hopeless. But if we plant the right seeds, everything can change within a decade. That's a short amount of time. So here we are, second level, self-worth, our emotional relationship with ourselves, our ability to give birth to our own self-worth day by day by day. And again, the area below the belt, I'll just put the belt in today just to give that to us as an awareness. We're going to have a real sense of power by the time we get to the end of our third level of energy, because we're going to learn what happens to the majority of us in our life and how we get stuck below the belt. I have neglected to add in on the previous two, the 0 level, which is the Fool in the tarot cards. I neglected to add that into the video. And I also neglected to add that the first level of energy in the tarot is Mercury the Magician. So I want to give those to you also, again, to remind us that what we're doing here is ancient information. And the Egyptian tarot brought so much wisdom to the earth during that time period. And if you have a good tarot deck, you're going to enjoy adding in the energy and the information that you can learn from going into your tarot deck and seeing how, for example, I like to use Carol Bridges' The Medicine Woman Tarot, because it is a contemporized version, but it's not a deeply altered version. And what she says about the first level of energy, or second level, I'll go right to the second. In the traditional tarot, this is the High Priestess, and in her interpretation, this level, second level, is self-reflection, seeker of the light within. Remember, we're doing an inner journey. And so when we're deep down below the waist, this is really ancestral energy that sometimes we can carry forward old patterns that are no longer useful. And this is where we can actually scare ourselves. And this is where we think that we need something outside of us to make us complete. Now, of course, this is a journey, and we don't want to stay isolated. We don't want to be alone, but we do want to recognize that we can't become ourselves by ourselves, is what one of my teachers reminds us frequently. We don't become ourselves by ourselves, but that's why we have books and education in all its different forms through our experiences. Carol Bridges gives us a lovely, what I call a power statement, that goes along with this second level that she calls the seeker. You can write that in, a seeker of self-worth on a daily basis. It's a powerful investment in our own growth. She says, my world is a reflection of my relationship to all that is. Through my image and word, great spirit's wisdom takes form. So that's a very lovely addition to our climb. I'll turn the camera back around. And here we are. Okay, so we're ready to close our second level exploration. As mentioned, these are as brief as I can make them. Of course, I could go on, and I often think, oh, I wish I would have added, and oh, I want to put that in next. But again, just you don't need me to remind you that your self-worth and how you invest and develop your gifts, your talents, your passion for your life is your main, that's your main event. That's your main responsibility. So I'm just here to remind us all, me and you, to be about the most important journey that we can each take, the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video for the third level of energy, the last before we get to that belt that we're going to spend some time investigating as we're climbing the ladder of the creative levels of energy to support us in being congruent, in being of a piece, in being whole, feeling like I'm here, I'm whole. My imperfect adores my perfect, wherever it happens to be. I'm strong. I'm powerful. I'm powerfully connected. And as we look at our journey, we're going to learn more and more about how we just really want to remember our roots, that we are rooted, grounded, centered. We are like a tree, but we're more than a tree because we're also mobile. We can move about the world. This is Iona. This is Wren House Studio. And this is the second level of the creative energy fields. The energy is orange in color and relates to our ability to relate to our self with true worth. We're each a gold mine. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Take good care. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. And do your own research. Don't believe me. Find what really fits for you in regards to this particular energy. I'm trying to get out, and I'm doing it now.